I'm continually amazed at what Batman the Animated Series is able to cram into a 22.5-minute episode. But are there stories that are just too big to tackle in a half-hour episodic television show? Well, we're going to find out as we talk about Avatar right now. What do you think of the new opening, huh? Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. And if you're new here, thanks for joining us, because this is the show for you if you grew up on Batman the Animated Series and became a huge Batman fan today, or just like Batman the Animated Series, then you're in the right place. And today we're talking about the episode Avatar, which originally aired on May 9th, 1994. It seems whenever we bring in Ra's al Ghul into the episodes of Batman, it turns into a world-traveling show, and this is no exception. Batman now travels to Egypt to battle Ra's al Ghul once again.
It was dear old Dad. No mistake.
Last time we saw Ra's al Ghul, it was in a two-parter, which made sense, and here we just have a lot of story and a lot of elements to this episode crammed into a half hour, and the question is whether it works or not. We'll talk all about that right after our 60-second Joker Bomb rundown of the episode. Here we go. We start off with a little bit of a history look back 100 or so years ago when a man is climbing into a tomb to try to get this artifact, and it collapses and caves in, and his son's really sad about this. And then we fast forward to modern day. Bruce Wayne's opening up a Egyptian exhibit for the tax write-off, and Lucius looking at the scroll. He goes, "Oh, shame there isn't the other half." Later on that night, a man comes in to steal that masked man, and Batman fights him. It turns out that it's Ra's al Ghul's henchman, Hugo. Huge. And so Batman goes to Egypt to try to track him down. He runs into Talia, and Talia goes, "Oh, it couldn't have been him. He's dead." And she goes, "No, I very much saw him alive." And then they track him down. They find him, and Talia goes, "Oh, I'm so glad to see that you're alive." And he goes, "Oh, I'm using this scroll to be able to awaken this Egyptian queen to get this infinite power." And so he locks them into a glass cage, and Batman uses a sonic thing to break through. They go track him down. Ra's al Ghul does awaken this queen, and he thinks that he's going to gain all this power. Anyway, it turns out that the Queen's just using Ra's al Ghul to suck his life force, and so they get him out of there. Batman knocks over this thing and stops all these monsters from coming out of the green water there, and Ra's al Ghul is healed and gets young again, and then they're taking him back to prison or whatever, and Talia goes, "I told you I do what I have to do for family," and so she turns on Batman, but his henchman throws Batman a water bottle, and it all works out well. I told you there's a lot in this episode.
Yes. Another time.
So I'll say the same thing about this episode that I said about Demon's Quest, is it's a great fun episode. It's very enjoyable to watch, but it just doesn't feel like a Batman episode. At least a Batman the Animated Series episode. It feels like we're going along this certain trend, and we're in Gotham City, and we're fighting these villains, and we got mobsters and all these, and then all of a sudden, now we're in Egypt, and Batman is tracking him down. Batman's riding a horse. As fun as it is, it just feels very different. And I know that we've seen a lot of iterations of Batman. We've seen comedies, we've seen campy, we've seen dark, we've seen brighter, we've seen heroic, we've seen moody, we've seen all these different iterations in the comics and the TV shows and the movies. And so it's hard to nail down and go, oh, this is a Batman story, or this isn't a Batman story, because he's done everything.
It's commendable. It's inspiring.
It's deductible.
But I want to say that there's a certain tone to the animated series, and these episodes with Ra's al Ghul just feel like drastic offshoots from the other episodes. I'm not saying that is a bad thing, but these episodes have to kind of be taken as one-offs. They have to be, although they themselves have a great continuity to them, and they connect to the previous episodes in themselves. It almost seems like they should have just did like a Ra's al Ghul mini-series and just kind of tucked it off in its own, or did a Ra's al Ghul movie or something like that. But it's a tough shift to go from an episode like House and Garden, where Batman's in the suburbs during the day, to now being in Egypt tracking down this Egyptian queen mystic person.
I am Father Capetta, Those who have joined me share their knowledge with me. We are Legion.
But with that, there's a lot that they cram into this episode. It has a very cinematic feel, and they cover a lot of ground. I mean, physically, they travel from here, from Gotham to Egypt, but they, like I said, connecting it back to the previous stories with Talia and Batman, or Bruce Wayne and her relationship with him.
The only thing he and I have ever agreed upon is our feelings towards you.
But at the same time, there's not a lot of Batman in it. It's over halfway through the episode before he pulls his cape and cowl out of his knapsack and becomes Batman. I think that there's a lot of backstory involved in this episode. It's almost like you have to see those other episodes, which is why I think it makes sense as a miniseries.
I know the face of my most powerful enemy, Talia.
There's this effort to cram so much of the story into this small window of time that it honestly felt like that last battle, that last adventurous beat-em-up guy moment in the episode was sort of clunky in itself. That Ra's al Ghul opens up that sarcophagus and starts pulling out these scrolls and they crumble. Batman just takes off running. And then the guys go after him, and then there's this battle, and Ra's al Ghul slips away. It's like they got going in the story and got so involved in it that all of a sudden, oh, we need to wrap this up, so let's throw in this battle, and oh yeah, we got to show the Queen now, and so this all happened, and it was just a lot that happened right there at the end.
Remember, Thoth Capero was immortal. Her subjects deified her, named her after the ancient gods of infinite knowledge and eternal life, and in a few short moments, I will be privy to those same secrets.
So when it comes time to rank this episode, I honestly think that it's hard to rank it against all these other episodes because it feels so different. When somebody says Batman the Animated Series to you, I think that everybody kind of pictures a certain type of episode or a certain style of the show. And I would venture to guess that this episode, or a lot of the Ra's al Ghul episodes, don't exactly fit into that mold. I don't think that many people are saying, oh, I love watching Batman the Animated Series because he travels all over the world and fights these huge mystic powers that are threatening the entire world. We'll leave that to Tom Cruise. But I think that people think of Gotham City and the Dark Knight and the Rogues Gallery. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that that's what they think of. So this episode is really hard to fall into rank with the Batman the Animated Series, but challenge accepted, so I did my best to squeeze it in where I could, but I ended up putting it at the number 50 slot of my favorite episodes so far. I know it's far down on the list, but there's just so many other episodes that fall into the style of episodes that I prefer. There's nothing really wrong with this episode. There's just 49 other episodes that I like better. And it falls right below Zatanna because that episode is a neat mystery and it has some neat elements with the plane and this Gotham story and a little bit of history with Batman. And so it's a nice, tighter package of an episode. But it does beat out Joker's Wild because, as we stated before, that is just so much Joker. It is Joker overload in that episode.
Another time, detective.
So as I mentioned earlier, what are the quintessential episodes of Batman that you think of immediately when people say Batman the Animated Series, or the style or the design that you associate with the show? It doesn't necessarily have to be like your favorite episode, but those types or those groups of episodes that you think of with the show. Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope that you'll click the like button. And if you like what you're seeing here, hit subscribe because we got a lot more episodes coming as we walk our way through Batman the Animated Series. We have new episodes coming out every Tuesday and Thursday. So I hope to see you back this coming Thursday when we talk about Trial. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Andy Knode, and I'll see you soon.